Today we're talking about injection frequencies. So let's dive right in. Using long esters like CYP or nanthate, or any ester really, just based on the basic pharmacokinetics of drugs and pharmacology in general, you're going to have a peak value and a trough value in your serum, which is is generally defined as your blood, right? So you're going to have a peak value and a trough value. The peak value and the trough value get further apart the less frequent you inject, and get closer together the more frequent you inject. Now, it is gold standard on testosterone replacement to measure the trough value, right? So most people would measure the trough value. The reason for this is because where else are you going to measure it, right? You can measure your peak value, or you can measure your random value throughout the week. So you need some sort of standard. In the nadir, the trough value is gold standard for testosterone replacement. So this creates kind of a conundrum or a problem for people who are injecting infrequently, because they will draw their trough value, but their peak value 7 days or so, 6 days or so earlier, is going to be much, much higher. And with people injecting that infrequently, like once a week, it could be 1,000 nanograms per deciliter higher. So it can be quite significant. And the closer you get to daily injections, the less there of a disparity there is between the trough and the peak value in your blood. So this is why one of the reasons why I like injecting every day. It's because no matter when I grab labs, I know they're going to be 100% accurate for where I'm at right now, right? Because my peak value and my trough value are essentially the same. And the further out you get, every other day, every 3 days, every 4 days, every 5, 6, 7 days, the further out you get, the less accurate your labs are going to be. So when I see posts of people going, what is your total testosterone on testosterone replacement therapy? And people go 600, 500, 400, 800. It's like, you don't know your frequency. So one person could be, 500 nanograms per deciliter, but they're injecting once per week. And the other person can be 500 and they're injecting every day. That's a huge difference, because the person injecting once per week is going to have a peak that's way up here, whereas the person injecting daily, they're actually going to be 500 most of the week. So that should give you some idea of the challenge of interpreting lab work, especially when somebody's having unpleasant symptoms or something like that, or they're not getting what they want out of a testosterone replacement. Because occasionally there are people who are right on the verge where they're having high estrogenic side effects, but their labs don't show that they have high estrogenic, have a reason for high estrogenic side effects. They may show an estradiol of 40 or something like that, and a total T of 800. Well, they're injecting every 5 days. So you got to take into consideration that their peak value is going to be much higher, and they're going to have a larger conversion into estrogen that's not shown on paper. So it becomes a little bit tricky to interpret lab work, and that's why I like to suggest to people to inject as frequently as tolerable. Of course, rotating injection sites to reduce scar tissue buildup, but using sling pens or insulin needles can prevent scar tissue buildup. So having a frequent injection frequency is nice in that way, so you know where you're actually at, or you could be very close to knowing where you're actually at, rather than having no idea where you're at the rest of the week, this outside of your trough. I think that pretty much fucking covers it, to be honest. Just trying to think if there's anything else really. No, not really. You gotta keep in mind that your injection frequency is going to create a disparity between your peak and your trough value. You gotta take into consideration that your trough value may not be accurate if you're injecting infrequently. And injecting frequently is great because then you know exactly where you're at all the time, and it's easier to make a decision on whether or not you need to increase your injection frequency, decrease it, or adjust your dosage. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, you can contact me on Reddit @the_bro scientist. I'm not feeling too great, so I'll try my best to respond, but no promises, okay? Appreciate you guys. Talk to you next one.